You travel quite a bit. How many trips have you taken this year?
Oh man, probably in the last 12 months, over 10.
How many times out of the country?
Well, I went to London, I went to Spain, I went to Paris, I went to Poland. That's four countries in Europe, literally in
Four
less than
countries in
12
Europe in the
months.
past 12 months. You're 22 years old. You're writing 20 to 30,000 a month. But to go from where you were to there, right? There's some stuff that happened in between. I'm hoping we're going to use this on the front end of the podcast as the teaser, because this is the part of the journey that people need to hear. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. And we've got a very special episode for you today. I'm super excited about today's guest. This young lady reached out to us probably a year and a half ago, somewhere in that time frame, found us on the podcast, just graduating school in Illinois, and got connected. And here we are about a year and a half later, and what a success story it's been. But it's been a journey. And so I'm excited today to bring to you all the way from Illinois, Caroline Trecartin. Caroline, welcome to the Life Insurance Academy podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. What a great welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I really appreciate it. I'm just so grateful, honestly.
Oh, so good to have you. It's so good to see you. So good to have you. And I'm super excited about your journey. And I'm super excited for what the viewers and listeners are going to get to hear today, because a lot of people like you are in college pursuing an education. They go to school and they're not quite sure what they want to do after school. And sometimes, and I'm going to say this, I'm a dad of 3 girls, right? You know this already. We've had this conversation many times. And I'm a believer in education. But I do believe that the traditional education does not deliver what it delivered 20 or 30 years ago. I think there's a lot of standardized packaging when it comes to a 4-year degree now, and at college and university, that is a little bit different. And I don't know if it gives the same type of opportunities as it did 20 or 30 years ago. And you're in school, going through school, getting ready to graduate. And somehow you found your way into the insurance business. How did that happen? And was it your last year when that started, or was it in your junior year?
Yes. Well, actually, I was a junior. However,
Okay.
I was graduating a year early. So
So you were
technically,
a smart kid.
technically senior.
A smart kid graduating early.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, that's a loaded question. A lot of people say that they fell into insurance, and I would definitely fall into that category. I don't think most people grow up or go to college and say they want to be an insurance agent. I know I definitely did not grow up thinking that. And I was always a lover of school. I valued education. I
Yeah.
never missed a class. I don't think I ever failed an exam. I did all of my homework. I never ditched school on senior ditch day or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I loved going to school. I took all the classes possible. I joined all the clubs possible. And I thought I was going to be a doctor.
Okay.
I actually got my degree in psychology. And the first 2 years of my college path, I was on the pre-medical route. So I was joining like all the pre-med clubs that they had to offer, doing the chemistry, all the pre-med courses that were required, science, stuff like that. And so I thought that I had a passion. I maybe wanted to be a psychiatrist. I really thought the human mind was very fascinating. And so I was a junior in college. It was my last year.
Where were you? Where were you going to school? Where are you from and where are you going to school? Why don't we start there?
So University of Illinois is where I went, down in Champaign.
Okay.
I'm 22 years old. So I graduated 1 year ago, May of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was on the pre-med path, and I was like 6-7 months away from graduating. And my sister, she is 2 years older than me. She had graduated college, and she was just kind of having like a part-time job in insurance as a life insurance agent. And I thought that was very fascinating. And she would like come home from the office. She was renting an office at the time, and we were both living at home still. And she would come home and telling me about, selling mortgage protection to these people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Mm-hmm. And I would ask her, like, how much are you making doing that? Mm-hmm. And she'd be like, yeah, I signed someone up today. We had like a 30, 40-minute phone call. Made like $600. I was like, $600 from like a 40-minute phone call? Like, at the time, I was still in college and I had been working part-time jobs. Yes. I was a cycle instructor. I worked at Lululemon. I would make $400 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Working 20, 25 hours a week part-time.
Yeah. Correct.
So seeing that in a 30 or 40-minute phone call, she can make the same amount, it was very intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. And that's how I fell into insurance. I would just say I fell into it, honestly. I had no intention.
Did she recruit you? Did she say, hey, you need to get in and do this with me? Or was she like, no, you don't really need to do this? What was your relationship like with your sister? Was she always like looking over you, watching out for you? What was that like?
Yeah. My sister and I have a very interesting dynamic. She's 2 years older.
She's going to listen to this podcast, right? She's going to be watching this.
I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will.
And
I love her. I love her to death.
What's your sister's name?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte.
Yes.
You've got a great sister here. Maybe one day we can meet you, Charlotte. Go ahead.
So she's 2 years older than me, and she's my only sibling. Growing up, we always had a very interesting dynamic. I would say that we've always been closer when we're apart. So when I was in college, 3 hours away, and she was at home, we'd be 3 hours away. We'd call each other every couple of days, and it would be great. But the second I come home for break and we're living under the same roof, all hell breaks loose. Yeah. It's done. We're fighting. We're butting heads, and we've always had a very competitive nature. So I would always look up to her. However, if I did the same things as her, she would consider it copying. So she became a cycle instructor. I became a cycle instructor. She joined a club at school. I joined the same club, right? Like she studied this. I would study the same thing.
That used to bug her.
And it would bug her because she thought that I wasn't like independent to do my own things.
Yeah.
So she got into insurance. And I was like, hey, why not give it a try? Why not just give it a shot?
You forced your way in. She wasn't recruiting you. You forced your way in there.
No, she did not want me to join insurance at all, in all honesty. I just wanted to give it a shot, and I had no intention of making it my full-time career. At the time, I was in my last year of school. I was literally just looking for a way to make money. So in all honesty,
you want to make $600 in 45 minutes instead of $600 every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So what happened from there?
So I did it part-time. I did join the IMO that Charlotte was with, and I just started doing it part-time. I mean, mind you, I was taking like 18 credit hours at school. That's a very, very full-time schedule, 4 or 5 classes a day I was going to. So I didn't have that much time to dedicate to insurance. I would be in my dorm. After I come home from all my classes, I'd be taking some calls, doing some dialing, maybe buying 10, 20 leads a week. Nothing too crazy. However, I felt that I wasn't very successful, and I found out right away, actually, like very, very quickly, within the first 2 months, this is not something I'm good at.
Yeah.
It's not. I didn't feel that I would be good at sales.
How did that make you feel? Because you've been good at most everything else you tried most of your life, and now that you're doing this and you're not good at it. How did that make you feel?
Right. Exactly. Like I said, I've always been used to excelling at things
Mm-hmm.
in school, straight A's, graduated with a 4.0, never failed an exam. I would be good at everything that I ever tried.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got into insurance and I started making dials and I started having presentations over the phone and throwing all this money away on leads and not getting a return. And mind you, the first sale I got, my sister gave to me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Charlotte.
It was really discouraging. It was. Charlotte has always been very good at anything she ever does.
Mm-hmm.
And she was crushing it. She got into insurance. 9 months later, she was rolling in the dough, making so many sales, so much money. And I'm like, I want to be like her. I want to start making more sales. I don't know what to do. I felt like I was drowning.
Mm.
And I will say that to kind of put this into context, Charlotte had left the business about 2 months after I joined
Oh, okay.
to start her own endeavors as a business owner.
Okay. So she has her own company now outside of insurance?
She
Her own
does.
business?
Yeah,
Okay.
she runs her own company, Charge Arms. I'll give that a little shout out.
Okay, cool.
And so she was pursuing that full time.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 months when I joined the industry, she left. And like I told you, I looked up to her as a role model.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined, she trained me. She helped me figure out my script, listening to my presentations. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? But she left. So now I'm all alone doing this. And I'm going back to school at this point too. Like I'm in school. She's not in insurance anymore. I'm all on my own. I'm figuring it out on my own.
So what happened?
And I had a lot of mental breakdowns.
Oh no. Oh no.
I did. I came to a point, it was coming to the winter of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been with this IMO for about 3 months. And I was like, I'm probably going to quit. I was still, committed to my pre-med journey. Like, hey,
Sure.
I'm going to be a doctor. It'll all be
Mm-hmm.
good. I spent, $6, $7 or $1,000 or whatever, $2,000 on this and whatever. I'll just forget about it. And so I was walking to class one day and I was like, I'm just going to listen to a podcast. A lot of times when I walked to class, I would throw on podcast or music or whatever.
Sure.
And so I wanted to look into some life insurance podcasts, see what other people are experiencing in the industry.
Sure.
So I literally went on Spotify and I searched life insurance. And the first video or podcast that popped up was like these two guys like making like $50K a month in insurance. And like I look at like the picture, it's like these two young guys too, like in their 20s, high 20s at the most. And so I took a listen to it.
They're going to correct you. They're going to say mid-20s, Caroline, mid-20s.
Mid-20s. That's right. And little do you know, it's the Life Insurance Academy podcast that I'm taking a listen to with Mike and Jalen, who are now, it's my team.
Yeah.
And I listened to the podcast and it's these two guys right out of college, just graduated a couple of years ago. And something that they were saying really resonated with me. Like, I felt like I had an inherent connection with them just by listening to the podcast.
Now, is that when you reached out? Because I remember when you reached out and we spoke on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think you DM'd or something. I'm not quite sure how the connection was made. You reached out. Was that right then, or did you wait?
I literally think it was the same day that I listened to the podcast. I went on Instagram and I DM'd Mike. And no, I DM'd True Wealth. I DM'd the True Wealth Instagram. And I was like, hey, I'm in life insurance right now. I'm with this IMO and I'm just not finding too much success. I feel like I'm drowning. Just don't really know what to do. Just kind of reaching out for help.
Mm-hmm.
And they respond and they're like, I would love to have a call with you.
Yeah.
Let's schedule a call. Had a call with Mike like
Mm-hmm.
the next day or 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
And right off the bat, had an instant connection. I felt it was kind of one of those like instinctual feelings
Yeah.
where you just know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just know that this is my place. This is like my new home.
Yeah.
And
I
I didn't,
remember
yeah.
I remember having that conversation with you. I must have talked with you right after that or right
Mhm.
around the same time frame because you were like, I want to get going. How do we make this work? And we got you guys all connected up. And you jumped in and started I guess you decided to take a change and take one more crack at this instead of staying committed to the pre-med journey. Or were you still committed to pre-med at that point and you were just trying to find success here? Or was it just because I have not been successful and I am not a failure, therefore I need to be successful before I quit? What was going on in your head?
All sorts of things. Honestly, all sorts of things. My mind was such a jumble. Like, I didn't find success at my previous IMO. So I'm like, maybe it's just the community that I'm
Mhm.
with that
Yeah.
I'm not vibing with.
Yeah.
Because my immediate upline, I almost never even spoke with him.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a community where they only let the successful people thrive and the
Mm.
people who are struggling, they don't reach out to them. And I felt like I literally say this all the time. I felt like I was drowning and no one
Oh.
was coming to save me. So I wanted to see if I could switch and find a different community
Hmm.
that might give those resources to me and might
Sure.
give me the time and the energy to thrive.
Yeah.
And at this point, like I literally had only had one sale, and it was the sale that my sister gave me. And I switched over to True Wealth
Hmm.
with Mike and Jalen. And within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, I had my first sale with them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's all it took. It was like just that shift in energy, the shift
So
in the
you
community.
you got your first sale, and from there it was off to the races, and there was no more hiccups, no more glitches, and you were massively successful right from that point.
Well, I would love to say that my journey went that way. It was definitely a step in the right direction,
Yeah.
but that's not to say there was no more hiccups. As you know, there was a lot
Yes,
more
I do.
hiccups.
I do know. I do know. So let's fast forward a little bit because what I want our listeners to know is that there's success on the other side of this that is pretty significant. Right now, you are in a place where you're averaging between $20,000 and $30,000 a month in premium. You travel quite a bit. How many trips have you taken this year?
Oh man, probably in the last 12 months, over 10. I
Over 10
average
trips. How
about
many
1 to
times
2
out of the
trips a
country?
month.
How many times out of the country?
Well, I went to London, I went to Spain, I went to Paris, I went to Poland. That's four countries in Europe, literally in
Four
less than
countries in
12
Europe in the
months.
past 12 months. You're 22 years old. You're writing 20 to 30,000 a month. But to go from where you were to there, right? There's some stuff that happened in between. I'm hoping we're going to use this on the front end of the podcast as the teaser because this is the part of the journey that people need to hear. You graduated college and then committed to come to a telesales boot camp. What was that like for you? Why did you decide to do that? And why did you decide to come all the way to Kentucky to join us here for one of our telesales boot camps? And Jalen was actually in the room as one of the mentors and coaches that week. What was
Yes.
that like for you? Why?
Yeah.
And then what was that like?
Yeah. Yeah. So to provide a little context, I graduated college and
Hmm.
I decided to try this thing out full time.
Okay.
So at this point, when I joined the telesales boot camp in Kentucky, I had maybe been full time for a month, if that. It was a
Mm.
pretty short period of time. Mind you, I had just been part time still in college for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. So I gave this thing a real shot. a real crack at it. And I decided, Jalen and Mike reached out to me. They said, hey, there's this telesales boot camp. You got to go. You got to go. It's an opportunity to get better.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to surround yourself with people who are doing the same thing as you. See what everyone else is doing. Learn new things that you can implement. And so I drove like 5-6 hours. I came down, I was ready, I was excited, and I was scared too. I had all kinds of emotions going into it because I didn't really know what to expect. I'm like, are we all going to just be sitting in a room dialing all day long, talking to clients? And I get really like nervous when people are listening to me too. So like I come in and we're all in this one room and there's like 20 people and we all have computers right next to each other. And like my first feelings are like intimidation.
Yeah.
Honestly, like intimidation that I'm scared that I'm not going to do well. I'm scared that other people are going to hear me and that they're going to critique my presentation. And that was a flaw in my thinking. Now that I'm like looking back on it,
Sure.
it was a flaw that I was not open to being coachable.
Yeah. How did you feel? What happened in that boot camp? And I mean, what was the end of day feelings like each day that you were here?
Oh man. I mean, these boot camps, we were grinding all day long for like from 8 a.m. to like 8 or 9 p.m. So it's a long day's work. And it's like when you have something coming up that's really exciting and you get those butterflies in your stomach, but it's more like anxious butterflies. And I remember it was the first or second day, my stomach was hurting so bad from all this anxiety and this wrenching feeling in my body because of the anxiety and the intimidation that I literally almost got sick. I remember coming to you saying I don't feel good. I wanted to take a Tylenol. I was crying. I was an emotional wreck during this boot camp. I was.
Oh my
It was
gosh. I
not
know. I
good.
remember. So you got over it that night and then the next day everything went perfect, or the next day you were back in the same emotional
Next
state
day
again?
was I think I cried all 3 days during this boot camp. And I think during the 3 days, I put up 1 sale or 2 sales.
Mm-hmm.
And here Jalen is sitting next to me, the mentor, and he's putting up 4 or 5 sales a day. And I'm listening. He's on the phone. People are crowding all around him, listening to how amazing he sounds, how seamless his presentation sounds. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, I need to sound like that. Like, I need to get to the point where people are looking at me like that and looking at me thinking, wow, she sounds really good.
Caroline, you left that event with just 1 or 2 sales. Did you leave feeling like it was a win, a fail, or I don't even know if this is for me? What were you thinking as you were heading back to Chicagoland?
I did not think it was a fail. I definitely thought it was a win. Although I was very emotional and I came back to my hotel room and cried every single night. It was a good feeling. It was a feeling that I'm here to grow and I'm here to get better. And anything worth having is going to be hard to achieve.
Yeah.
If I want to be at the place where Jalen and Mike are, at the place producing 20, 30, 40K AP a month, a lot of people look at your production and your success, but they don't realize what it took to get there.
Yes.
It's like one of those facades. When you see all the success on social media or online, or you just see all the numbers being posted, but you don't realize all the effort and work that went into getting there. The journey, the process.
Yeah. So you head back home, and then you decided to get serious. You were done school and you started plugging in. But I asked you prior to us getting on air and recording today, I said, what would you attribute some of your successes to, or I like to call them inflection points? Because a lot of new people, when they're checking out this business or when they get started in the industry, they hit those first roadblocks, the first challenges, that first emotional gut punch that you felt like, oh, I've been good at everything all my life, everything I've applied myself to, 4.0, pre-med, this is hard. I feel like I want to be sick. I need Tylenol. I'm emotional. Like when people get
Yeah.
that first time they get that gut punch, most people tend to back up and back away from the opportunity. You didn't.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the key things that kept you in, that got you through that emotional roller coaster, for lack of a better term, to get
Mm-hmm.
you to a place of emotional intelligence where you could say, okay, now I understand what was going on, but I understand there's certain things that has actually helped me become successful. And I might not have valued them first, but now I realize they were the key. Some of these things were the key to my success, because that's what our listeners are listening for, because they
Mm-hmm.
want to know why a very successful, aspiring pre-med student coming out of university in Illinois would actually choose to do insurance, struggle so hard, but yet come out on the other side with a success story. Like, first of all, kudos to you. Most people would not
Thank
have done
you.
what you did. Why is there an opportunity for young people coming out of school? And why do most tend to back up at adversity and not lean in? So, what were some of those things for you that got you through to the other side? And why did you decide to stay and make this a career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question. I think it's,
There's a
like
lot
you
there, I
said,
know.
it's a matter of how you face adversity and challenges. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why there's 8% nation. There's a reason why Cody Askin says 8% of insurance agents quit. It's not that
8%
they
make it.
fail,
8% make
or
it.
no, 8%
92%
make
fail.
it.
Yeah.
92% fail or quit in the
Mm-hmm.
first 3 years. It's because it's not an easy journey. It
Mm-hmm.
is tough, but it is so worth it. This is a business that can provide you with so many opportunities. It can be so lucrative. It can make you financially free. It's life changing. It is. But anything that is so life changing is going to have challenges involved in the journey. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone would be a millionaire if it was that easy.
That's right. You're right. You're right about that.
So it's a matter of how you face the adversity in the moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
about kind of like taking a step back and realizing, like, I'm not the only one that is going through this. Hey, if
Yes.
Mike and Jalen can do it, who graduated college with a probably less than a 2.0, they said it. I did not. They said it themselves. And I'm over here like, I graduated with a 4.0. Like, I've always been really good at things. If they can do it, I can too. It was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of that mentality. Like, if this person can do it, I can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
They went through the same things I am going through right now. So how am I going to face this adversity and push past it? You lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
You lean in with all the emotions. You can lean in with fear, but also with excitement and like optimism that I
Yes.
am going to come out this being successful. That's not to
Mm-hmm.
say that at this point where I'm producing 20, 30K a month and, oh, I'm just having the time of my life and rolling in all the dough. Like, there's always going to be challenges in the journey, but that's just a part of like being in the business, being an entrepreneur, and part of building and growing along the way.
Mm-hmm. You said there was a few things we talked about. You talked about a morning training call, showing up. You used the word
Mm-hmm.
show up several times.
Yes, that
And I
was
said, I
so
like
key.
that. Show up for success. What does that mean to you when I say show up? How did you implement that, and how did it change everything?
Something that has always been told to me was success happens in communities and
Mm-hmm.
failure happens in isolation. It's one of the biggest quotes that is used in this industry. Success happens in communities and failure happens in isolation. When we get into this business, so many new agents will isolate themselves and they won't go on the training calls. They won't watch the training videos. They won't go to the boot camps because they're scared. They're stepping back from that opportunity. And I was like that. I was. When I first joined, you can ask Mike and Jalen this, I did not show up on the morning calls. I was maybe on one every few weeks. I didn't see value in the morning training calls or the boot camps or anything. And so I shifted my perspective and I realized I have to put myself out there. I have to dive in. I have to show up. Show up, utilize all the resources that are given to me. And we have a morning call every day and I'm on every single one of them. I'm not a believer that you can ever stop growing. I'm still growing every single day.
Yeah.
Every time I show up on a training call, a morning call, you take like little nuggets from every call and you implement them into your business. And it helps you level up over time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but showing up is a part of the process. You got to show up. You got to be vulnerable within the community. Utilize that. Take advantage of it to your benefit.
Yeah. Now, you said it wasn't one particular call that changed things. It wasn't like a big aha moment.
No, it's not. It's not one call. It's not one training. There's not like one pivotal time that will change your business, but showing up over time, it's like the culmination of it over time will help to contribute to your success. Like as a new agent, like I'll give you an example here. Like we have morning training calls and we literally role play and we'll give out objections. Like, what do you say when a client says, I want to think about it, or I don't have time right now? And we'll call on people randomly. And this is an opportunity right here for you to get better. And I'm thinking, if you're not willing to be vulnerable on the call and fail, like say the wrong thing, are you more willing to fail on the call or fail when you're on the phone with a client? Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're trying to save face. They don't want to be embarrassed in front of their peers. They'd rather actually blow the lead, blow their investment, get it wrong, and then blame something else.
Yep.
Than be embarrassed to say, I don't know how to handle that objection.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
How important is now your community for success that you have now versus the one you had? And why do you attribute that to success? And now I know that you're growing a team yourself. And I also know that you're actually leading those training calls now, the ones that you used to not show up to first, but now you decided to be a part of. And now that you're leaning in, because I know I talked to Mike and Jalen, now there's a question that you ask them. And that question is, how can I help?
Yeah.
Not how can you help me, but how can I help them? And that kind of flips the script on your own mindset. Of I'm not just doing this for what I can get out of it, but I'd like to contribute to my community so others can win too. And the minute you do that, you start becoming a leader and other people see you differently and you become an attractive force and become someone who's an ally of the leadership trying to grow something together in a community. So how important is your community and how is it different than the one you had?
It is beyond important. I can't even put words as to how important the community is. I'm in telesales, so the business can get really lonely. Like I have
you work from home.
I work from
you
home.
actually call clients from your home, from where you are now.
Yep. I just call clients
This
right
is your
where
home
I am
office
right
setup.
now. This is my office setup.
Can you also do that from London, England, if you needed to?
I can. I can do it from anywhere.
You could do it from Poland.
Great.
You could do it from Florida.
Absolutely.
You did it
anywhere
from Kentucky.
I want.
Anywhere you want.
Move my office, pick it up, and drop it down somewhere else. It's great. It's very freeing, that feeling, That's why I
But it
love
can be
business
lonely.
so much. But it can be lonely when
Mhm.
you work from home, and especially if you're not doing face to face or in the field, like you don't get too much interaction throughout the day with real people. So community and talking to people who are in the same place as you can feel very grounding. It can
Yeah.
feel very like peaceful to know that other people are going through the same things as you in every step of the way. Like new agents should talk to other new agents. Like
Mm.
people who are producing 20 to 30K a month should be talking to people who are producing 20 to 30K a month because they're in the same place as you in the business. So it can feel like kind of peaceful to know that other people are experiencing the same struggles and the same
Reassuring
challenges.
would probably be a good word.
Reassuring.
Reassuring. Yeah. Yeah.
Reassuring is a really good word to put to that. Reassuring that other people are just in the same place as you. So that community and building friendships and relationships with other agents. I've never seen it as competitive, like looking at other people and like having a competitive nature with them. I see it as like I look up to people and I try to form a bond with them, and how can I help you and how can you help me, and like get the most out of that relationship and help them grow in their journey as well. Like as a leader, I'm not like at my place in my business, I'm not only talking to people who are producing the same as me, but now I'm helping the new agents too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's funny to look back on it. Like they're reaching out to me asking the same questions that I was when I was a new agent.
And it's literally been 1 year.
It has. It's only been 1 year. It's just, it's such a funny place to be in. Um, but I love it. It's almost more fulfilling to me to help someone else
Mm.
be successful in the business than the fulfillment I get from like my personal production.
That's a sign of a good leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sign of somebody who's thinking about how to create an opportunity for others to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've through this community, you've developed some great relationships. You mentioned some of those earlier. Who are some of those peeps now that you've bonded with that have helped you on your journey? That you look up to, that you're inspired by, that you look forward to helping, and what have they done for you?
Yeah, there's so many people on my team, on the True Wealth team. Jacqueline is a big one. Jacqueline LeVay. She joined the team only a couple months after I did, maybe 4 or 5 months after I did. And she has been someone that not only I've seen so much growth in her, but we've kind of like leveled up together. So it's been really nice to have her kind of as a teammate, sort of so to speak, as a teammate to grow with and to learn from
Yeah,
and go through again the same challenges. And again, it's like when you are one of the top producers, people look up to you like you're rolling in it. Like you've got it made. But they don't realize that I am going through challenges too.
sure.
So it is really nice having someone that's on the same level as you.
And I believe selfishly, she may have found your organization on the podcast as well.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. That's a selfish shout out, right? Is that bad to give us a shout out, Adam? Right? Right. I want to shout out every person who's found their way to success in the business. It makes me like just get so excited to know that the message is getting out there. We are connecting people to great people and they're changing their lives. So shout out to you, Jacqueline LeVay. So maybe Jacqueline's got a spot coming up here on the podcast at some point in the future. Maybe we'll have to
She
have her
should.
on
She
as well.
deserves it.
Yeah, she's in a different spot of the country and came from a different background, but she's just killing it as well. Caroline, you're literally a year and a half into this journey, right? A year and a half
Yeah.
into this journey with True Wealth, where you are now, from finishing school. Not even a year and a half yet, or even from school. But what would you say to you? people that are looking for a career? Because most people going through college are not thinking this path. Why is this such a great opportunity? And why should they maybe DM you to get some more information about how this could be an opportunity for them? Because you used some words just a minute ago, which I use about me and my family all the time. This has changed my life. This industry is life-changing. It can change the trajectory of your life and your family's life. You use those words, life-changing.
Yeah.
What kind of opportunity is it for people like you who may not be thinking about this and who are one day on their way to class and they're listening to a podcast and they stop and see this young lady, Caroline from Illinois, telling her story?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best industries to be in. It can be life-changing if you utilize it properly. Mm-hmm. And you can make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, you can't get into the industry. I came into the industry for the money. I will say that. I came into the industry to make more money. And I went full-time because I wanted to make more money. But that is going to run out at some time. It's like the money can't be the reason that you want to pursue this as a career. Maybe in the beginning.
You don't mean the money's going to run out. You mean the motivation to keep
the
pushing
motivation.
For the money.
The money will not run out. Trust me. The money will keep coming. But that can't be your why. We always talk about what is your why? What is your why? Why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? Most people, it's for their family, for their husband, their wife, their children, because they want to provide their family with a better lifestyle than they had growing up. And that is an amazing why. But if you're going to do it for the money, it is going to be very short-lived because you're going to start making the money. And then you're going to be like, now what? And you're going to stop pushing the gas pedal as hard. And you're going to kind of relax. And it's going to overcome you. So this can be a life-changing business. And I have found it very fulfilling. I have found it so fulfilling. It's not going to be fulfilling for everyone. Maybe it's not the right business for 100% of people, in all honesty. But if you can find fulfillment in helping others and helping put people in a better financial situation than they are now, which I do, I find fulfillment in that, then it can be so rewarding, both financially and like freeing. Like as a business owner, like I have the freedom to travel when I want. I can work from home. I can go to Michigan or Florida or Europe and I can work from there, and I don't have to ask a boss for time off. I don't have anyone telling me what to do and when to do it and how to do it. I feel freedom in that. I don't like feeling like I have a chain on me or some sort of leash. I like having that freedom, and I value that.
If you need some extra money for things, or if you want to make some additional funds for an extra trip that you want to take, how would you do that? You just step on the gas and put in a few?
That's the great thing about this business is when you're working a job with a salary, you have to ask your manager or your boss for a raise or a promotion if you want to make more money. In this business, if you want to make more money, you can make that happen. You can double your salary in a day, in a week, if you put more work in. It's all activity. It's all activity. We say activity is the most important thing. The more people you put yourself in front of, the more calls you make, the more contacts, the more presentations you have, the more money you'll make. And that's the great thing about it. I want to make more money. I can do it right now.
So what do you see for your future? What does Caroline Trecartin see for her future 5 years from now, ideally, if you could paint it up? What does that look like?
So I see myself retiring from this business. I see that this business—
In 5 years?
Not 5 years. Maybe about 10 years, 10 to 15 years. I'm only 22. So if I can be financially free by 35, I'd be happy. But this business, I see it as there's two ways that it can bring financial freedom, right? The first way is you can build an agency. You can get a bunch of people, a bunch of agents, a bunch of production, and that can help bring you financial freedom with overrides.
Mm-hmm.
Second way you can become financially free is through Medicare. Medicare can bring you a bunch of residual income once you have a bunch of people on your book of business. And I'm at the point in my business right now where I am going to be dabbling in both. I don't know which one will bring me the fulfillment. I don't know which one will I stick with. But I'm going to kind of dabble in both areas. I know with building an agency, there's a lot of time and energy you need to pour into others, a lot of resources, and there's going to be people who you're going to tell them what to do and they're not going to do it, or you're going to be pouring so much into them and then they just fall off. And I know that can be really discouraging. So with building an agency, you're not only pouring into yourself, but you're pouring into others. And then on the other side with Medicare, you can do that all on your own. You got to work really hard as well. Neither of the paths are easy. So I've thought about both paths. I think
Are they easier than going to work for 40 years and then hoping to retire with a small pension or a 401k plan? Is it easier than that?
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to confuse anybody. When you say neither one's going to be easy, like the alternative is to go to work for a job for the next 40 years and do something that you don't love.
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because when agents quit, they will normally go back to their 9-to-5 job or whatever they were doing before. Mm-hmm. And they quit because they don't want to buy another batch of leads. They don't want to spend more money. They don't want to get the rejection, the no's. And I always say, like, it's not about the cost of moving forward. Like, that cost, like, it can be the literal cost of like buying the leads or the cost of getting the rejection, but it's about the cost of quitting. Like, if you quit, you're giving up the potential for you to literally retire in a matter of 10 years. You're giving that up to work for another 30, 40, 50 years, making minimum wage or an average salary. I don't know. I would rather have
something you don't love
that.
because it pays well. Lots of people take jobs that pay well. Mm-hmm. I've had people in my peer group. You know, I'm in my 50s now. My three girls. I have one who's 19. She's only 3 years younger than you. I have one who's 27 and one who's 29. And a lot of people that were in my peer group have jobs in the medical profession, medical sales. Some of them are, they work for other companies in that aspect. And some of them don't like their jobs at all. But they have that job because the job pays well.
Exactly.
You know, it pays multiple six-figure, but they're gone all the time. They're traveling all the time. Or they, you know, they miss all of the important things of their families, key moments, you know, their kids growing up, and a lot of that. And, you know, squeezing in one summer vacation a year was like so hard for them because of their job commitments, because of the demands of the company on their job for their time that paid them the income that they wanted to provide for their family. So sometimes people take a lesser job and are just stuck there. Other times people take a job that pays more, but the demands are so high. And in this business, you get to carve out your own path. You get to set your own hours. You get to determine how hard you want to work, where you want to work, and when you want to work. Yeah. And I can't overstate it enough that I believe that this industry should be in the top 5 considerations of anybody going through college, in the top 5 considerations of anybody going through college. And yet I still think it's one of the best kept secrets in America. And we're hoping that your interview today changes that for somebody who's listening, because I think if they got on and listened to the sincerity, the genuineness, and the joy that I see in your face, the happiness, the striving, the how you feel about your community, about the success now that's possible, about your 10 trips and 4 trips to Europe this year at the age of 22, who's doing that, right? The only other people that are doing that are social media influencers or who are selling courses on how to sell courses online. And
I will say, like, I have taken 10 plus trips in the last 12 months. And I will say I have made six figures in the last 12 months. And I also will say that I work this job full time, but I can work it more full time.
Yeah.
If you're in the industry, you know what I mean by that. There's hours that are in hours that you do income producing activity,
Hmm.
dialing,
Hmm.
presentations.
Yeah.
There are more hours in the day that I could be doing income producing activity. And if I
Yeah.
really worked this business full time, I could be making a lot more money as well.
Yeah. If you work this business full time, like a lot of corporate people who make six figures have to
Mhm.
work their jobs,
Mhm.
you'd probably be making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, just doing the same thing,
Yeah,
helping families.
absolutely.
Caroline, it's such a pleasure seeing your success journey. I know that you're actually building a team now, investing in others, taking time to invest in them, to share your story. How do people reach you? You're actually also doing education now on your own social media. So
I am.
let's give a shout out to that, because we want people to be able to find you, and we want them to be able to find where you're educating and how they can connect with you if they want questions answered.
Yeah, so best way to connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Finance with Caroline. I'm working on growing my social media right now. So that is where I post a lot of educational content, and you are more than welcome to shoot me a DM on Instagram to learn more about this opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. So, Caroline, thank you so much for being on today. Big shout out to the True Wealth guys, Mike Cortang, Jalen Talley. They've both been on here. They've both been in training events with us, both class act people. The Jacqueline LeVays of the world, who you mentioned, another class act young lady doing big things that you may be hearing from soon on our podcast as well, and so many others in that community. And Caroline, I, like you, believe that success happens in community, failure happens in isolation. And thank you for being a part of the community that shares the good news about what this business can do for other people. So thank you so much for your contribution and for helping people every day, and for always having that great smile.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. And everybody, thank you for watching today. So many stories out there like Caroline's. So many stories out there like Caroline's. We hope that if you've listened to this point, you'll realize that you can change your life with this business too. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast.